All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Bakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. I don't know why it is that people still want us to be under the new covenant, right? But we're not, right? We're not under the new covenant, man. And the first proof that I'm going to use to show that we're not under the new covenant is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments which I commanded this day, that Yahweh thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So if we was under the new covenant, that means that we'd be keeping God's laws perfectly. And that would mean that the Israelites would be the top nation on the whole earth. Right? Now let me get another proof. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Now, how would these nations hear all these laws and statutes, right? Because when we're built up to a certain level where we're keeping all the laws perfectly ourselves, that's when we're going to teach the other nations the laws, right? And an example of that was shown during the 40-year rulership of the King Solomon. Verse 7, for what nation is there so great, who have God the Most High so nigh unto them, as Yahweh our power is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Right? So that's a proof that we are not under the new covenant, because no one ain't looking at us as though we're a great nation. They're looking at us as though we're degenerates, and that anyone else can be an Israelite before us. And that's why you'll see any of these people come out of the woodwork and say, oh, they descend back to those people in the land of Israel right now, right? And they just get accepted without any. They don't ever get asked for no DNA test. It's amazing. Anyone else that don't look like a so-called black person that says that they believe that they're an Israelite, they never get asked for no DNA test. It's amazing, man. It's amazing. It's like the DNA test don't exist no more when they're trying to claim that they're Israelite based on some connection to those people in the land, right? But when you claim that you're an Israelite based on a connection to the ancient Israelites, the real ones, that's when all of a sudden everyone remembers that they want to try and do a DNA test all of a sudden. So that's two proofs. Now here's another proof that we're not under the new covenant. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither Yahweh thy power have driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy power, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahweh thy power have scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy power will bring thee into a land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy power will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy power with all thy heart and with all thy soul. So this is talking about the new covenant, when the Israelites' hearts are going to be circumcised to love Yahweh. What's the love of Yahweh? To fear him and keep his commandments, right? That's going to be the new covenant, right? With all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. Verse 7, and Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And there's a whole bunch of people that hate us and persecute us, man. There's a whole bunch. Yet they are not in a cursed state. They are still living according to worshipping idols, following false idols, believing in the gods that don't exist, right? And nothing's happened to them. They're not cursed for doing that. So that's how we also know that we're not under the new covenant, right? Here's another way how we know, because I haven't even read what the new covenant is yet, but here's another way how we know, right? And now I'm going to read it, and I'll go to the New Testament part in the Bible where you can read about it, in fact. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 10. For this is the covenant that I'll make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahweh. I'll put my laws into their minds and write it in their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me from the least to the greatest. So how comes there's some Israelites right now that are bugged out, that don't know the Lord and reject it and they scoff? When if we was under the new covenant, we wouldn't need to tell any Israelite that we're under the new covenant for starters. They'd just be under it. We wouldn't need to open our mouths to tell them anything. No Israelite would have to tell us anything. Neither would we have to tell another Israelite to know the Lord, because they'd all know, from the least to the greatest. And it's amazing that for all this talk that these Christians have about the Israelites, right? I've never seen a Christian ever mention this. I've never seen a Christian ever mention that the new covenant is a day where God's going to put his laws in the minds of the Israelites. His laws, not that they try and make it say, oh, that it's going to be the Messiah's laws, Yahushai's laws, because it's not Yahushai's laws. It's going to be Yahweh's laws that are going to be put into the minds, right? It's going to be Yahweh's laws, man, because Yahushai never came to make any new law. He always came to fulfill the things that his father spoke about, right? And that's why when he said, what was the two main things of the law? What are the two greatest commandments? He mentioned things that we can find in the law, right? He didn't make a new commandment to say that this is the greatest commandment. He went to the commandments, to the laws, to the Torah, and showed what was the greatest of the greatest two things in there. That's what he did. Yet these Christians, they never mention a new covenant, man. They never want to talk about it. Or if they do talk about it ever, they're trying to somehow make Israel now be everyone. But then they got a problem when we say Gentile is talking about Israelites in some places in the Bible, but they make Israel be talking about everyone. Isn't it hilarious how hypocritical these people are? And disgusting at the same time. Israel can somehow mean a Gentile, but Gentile cannot mean an Israelite, according to what they say, if we let them have their way, right? But it's not going to go their way, though. It's going to go Yahweh's way, right? It's going to go Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahushai's way. Now, to try and keep the lesson short, I'm going to keep it like that. I'm just going to read the last of this, in fact. Verse 11, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me from the least to the greatest. So that's how we know that we're not under the new covenant as well. That's an additional thing to show that we're not under the new covenant. The fact that people have to be told to know the Lord, whereas if they was under the new covenant, they wouldn't have to be told to know the Lord. They would just know him. And it wouldn't matter whether you're an Israelite that's got a lot of high standing in the society, or whether you're an Israelite that doesn't have a high standing in society. All of them are going to know him, right? Every single Israelite would know him. So all the celebrities of Israelites right now, they'd know the Lord if it was under the new covenant, right? They'd know the Lord. You wouldn't have to tell them, oh, they'd already have repented, because they'd already know the Lord by now. But that's how you know that we're not, man. When Kanye West would have came out and said everything that he said, people would have been like, we already know that. We know we are. When Kyrie Irving would have said what he wouldn't have needed to do that. It wouldn't have been a controversial thing for him to do that. There wouldn't have been. And according to what Christians try and say that everyone's can be under the new covenant. So that would have meant that there wouldn't be no need for all these churches that they have all scattered around the world stealing people's money for tithes or what, as they like to call them, donations, right? There wouldn't be no need for that, because everyone would be under it already. Now, I did say I was going to end it, but let me go to one more place that we know that we're not under the new covenant. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, meaning that all the weapons that people can use now for violence, there'd be no need for that anymore, right? There'd be no need for those weapons of violence anymore, man. People wouldn't use those things no more, right? There'd be no need. You wouldn't hear about shootings on the news, right? Neither would you hear about war on a mass scale, which it's going to say in the last bit. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Now, there's war happening right now, and there's countries making bigger budgets for more war. So that's how you know that we're not under the new covenant, but people want to lie. These Christians want to try and make prophecy be whatever they want it to be, man. Right? Because if you look at things according to the Bible and you look for prophecy, and if you're not looking at who the Israelites are according to who we said that the Israelites are, you're way back in prophecy. If you're looking for those people in the land of Israel for prophecy to come out of them, because they still don't even believe that the Messiah's came yet, right? They still don't even believe that the Messiah that the New Testament is written about, right, and the Old, but the stories that's written in the New Testament where we speak of that Israelites believe is talking about Yahweh Shai, the Messiah. Those people in the land of Israel, they don't even believe that that's happened yet, right? They don't even believe that that's happened yet. But when you read Daniel's the 9th chapter, there's a timeline for when he would come back. So they're trying to say that timeline don't mean it, but then they try and say, oh, they only read the Torah and the Tanakh. So according to the Tanakh, how come it hasn't been fulfilled yet then? That means that the time frame for it to happen has already gone, but it didn't happen. According to what they're saying. It's ridiculous. But they already know that it's happened for real. And that's why when any of these Christians try and even talk about the Messiah, even according to their own false doctrine, they stone them out the land, man. Dash water on them, speaking their weird Hebrew, right? With looking like goats, looking crazy as hell, ugly as hell. Yet that's the chosen. How would the chosen be so ugly, man? Why would God make his chosen nation be probably some of the most ugly people in the earth? He wouldn't do that. He'd make his chosen nation be beautiful even when they're living wickedly, right? He'd make his chosen nation be respected and be admired even by doing wickedness. So an Israelite would be somebody that can be rapping about the color of their booty hole, right? And the color of their genitals, and have fans chasing them down the street. And the Israelite would be able to be somebody that would be able to get rainbow colored hair as a man, tattoos all over their body, right? According to the number according to the name of the tattoo, the numbers of the tattoo, right? And get fans admiring him all over the world, man. That's what an Israelite would be able to do. They'd be able to, even though they're being wicked, people want to copy them and follow them according to their things that they're doing, man. But then if that person was to be able to be in power, then you would really understand and admire them, man. That's what Israelite would be like. That people are going to admire their skill all the time, right? Not admire them just because they're rich, but admire them because of their skill. That's the sign of an Israelite. That when you look at them in their low position, you're like, wow, they're amazing. And I wonder what they'd do if they had more power. That's what it is when you see an Israelite. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 30, the poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. Now, if we compare the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans to those people in the land of Israel right now, they are not honored for their skill, right? They're not honored for their skill. They're honored and feared, more so feared because of their riches, right? They ain't even really honored, right? The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? So if we as Israelites are honored right now, you got people wearing a LeBron James jersey, right? You got some billionaire's kid wearing a LeBron James jersey, following after his whole career, checking out his stats, right? Watching every single game he plays. Or he had a bad game today. He usually averages 10 assists or whatever he does. Oh, he had a bad game today. I hope he fixes his torn menisci. Oh, he's physiotherapist. He's by this name. They know everything about him, right? They know his birthday and all that. Studying his whole career from when he was in high school to now. Know all this. They know his combined stats from high school through to the NBA, right? Probably making an average of it and all that. So they'll paint him, or they'll get a professional pet artist to paint him so that they can go and meet him at the game and give him the painting that they made or that they had made for him, right? That's what an Israelite. That's the sign of an Israelite being honored for his skill. Because the only way how Israelites get in any of these circles is through a skill that they got. We don't just get a nepotism pass to get into any of these high circles. Kanye West got to be a billionaire because of his skill. Now, I don't particularly understand his skill when it comes to clothing, but guess what? If people want to wear the clothes that you make, then you've got a skill in making clothes, right? If people want to wear the clothing you're making, then that means you've got a skill in that. But I definitely understand his skill when it comes to music, though. He doesn't really have many bad songs, to be honest with you. Kanye West doesn't really have many bad songs. Neither does somebody like Michael Jackson. He doesn't really have a bad song. Michael Jackson don't, right? And there's many other musicians that don't really have many bad songs that you wouldn't want to listen to. There's not really a particular song that someone like Michael Jackson's made that you can be like, oh, that song's not good. It would make you tap your feet, move, do a 1-2 step. It would make you want to do something. But name me the song that those people in the land have made that makes you want to dance. Name it. Where's that? I thought the Israelites were musical people. Didn't the Israelites make the book of Psalms? So show me the music, show me the love for music among those people in the land of Israel. Show it. Show that they have more of a love for music than we do. Show that. Just show it, man. Show that there's any remnant among those people in the land of Israel that shows any kind of sign that they could defeat 3,000 people or however many people it was, like Samson did with the jawbone of an ass. Show that. Show me the person that lives in the land of Israel that's like a Mike Tyson in terms of boxing, or like a Deontay Wilder. Show it, man. Where they at? Where are these people? Where's the remnant and the proof and the show of great strength among them? Where's the people in the land of Israel that can run even close to the speed that Usain Bolt runs the 100 meters? Show it. Where is it, man? Where are they? Why shouldn't they be getting honored for their skill? But they don't have any skill. That's the thing. They don't have no skill, man. Their skill is to play the victim, right? But when they're playing the victim, not go to Deuteronomy 28. That's their skill. Verse 31, he that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And we're definitely honored in poverty. Definitely. And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? So if somebody is not liked right now when they're rich, right? People say that that money is a catalyst to reveal who you really are, right? So if someone's honorable in a poor state, then when they become rich, they're going to become more honorable because they're going to be able to help even more people in that poor from that position of wealth, right? Which is what happened to Solomon, right? When before he sinned. But somebody that's dishonorable, that riches is going to bring out that catalyst of them being wicked, right? Which is Esau. That's what Esau does. He hates things being alive. He hates the earth. He doesn't like God's creation. He thinks that God's creation was wrong. And that's what he does. That's what you see him do. He spends money on killing things rather than bringing life to things, right? If he finds out there's somebody that can make a machine that turns oxygen into water, he'll come up with a way to destroy that machine and give people poisoned water instead that breaks down their bones or something like that. He don't like things being nice, right? Apart from only for him. He doesn't like the world to be beautiful, apart from only for him. He doesn't like things to be nice, man. And I'm going to end the lesson there, man. These are just some of the proof, some of the small things that show that we're not under the new covenant, man. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.